When I first watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, I felt like I had a pretty good idea of what I was getting into. I knew it was a film that favored visuals and sound design over concrete storytelling. It was a movie that was very vague in what it was trying to say, and that typically watching it for the first time can be a bit hard for some. So really the big hurdle when watching 2001: A Space Odyssey for me was just how slow it was. And when I say slow, I don't mean the pacing of the overall narrative, more so that the film itself was physically slow. Scenes felt like it took forever to move on to the next thing. Sections of the movie will be dedicated to just showing off space shuttles or objects that move as slowly as humanly possible, and this will go on up to maybe 5 minutes, but at the time, it felt like an eternity. Even characters will take forever to get from point A to B, and I get why, because it's all in space, but showing off the entire thing in real time created major attention issues for me. I still came out of the movie appreciating it for what it was, but I'll admit it just felt too draining for my taste, and by the time it was in its final act, I just kind of wanted it to be over. However, after some time passed, while I can't say I was a fan of the movie, I became strangely intrigued by it. I started to research more about it, look up still shots that I thought were cool on Google, and even invest my own time in rewatching clips on YouTube, and ended up realizing it didn't feel as draining after the fact. I felt as if I loved it, knowing very well I came out of the movie with mixed feelings. There was just something about it that was so interesting, so mesmerizing. I knew that eventually I would have to give Space Odyssey a rewatch. HBO Max was taking off a lot of movies, including the Stanley Kubrick library, so in fear of seeing 2001 meet the same fate, as well as my general curiosity in a rewatch, I decided it was time to give it another chance. So if you ask me, the absolute best way to watch this movie is late at night in your room, lights off, and on your TV. To really take in the atmosphere of the film, that is the best way to watch it. I, along with many others, agree that 2001: A Space Odyssey is far more enjoyable the second time around. Since now you have previous knowledge of the film, there's not much of a need to think too hard about it. Movies like this, where it can be speculated for years, can come off as daunting, as if you have to pay attention to every little detail when watching it. But yet this movie doesn't really ask that much from the viewer. Really, when you're watching 2001: A Space Odyssey, you're just there to appreciate the visuals and immerse yourself in the empty void of space. Space Odyssey is absolutely stunning and is one of, if not the most beautiful and visually engaging films I've ever seen. Every scene, every shot, every piece of the set feels so meticulously constructed, and it is astonishing that this movie came out in 1968. And because it was my second time watching it, I was able to just sit back and let the movie take me on this journey. It's almost hypnotic. The sound design is able to create such a compelling yet eerie atmosphere throughout the movie. Where this is really put to the forefront is when the crew go to excavate this strange alien artifact called the Monolith. They approach the artifact as the music shifts to this disturbing choir that gets progressively louder and higher pitched as they walk closer. But then, this happens. Some of you still might not understand what exactly this movie is about, and to be honest, I don't truly know either. A lot of people like to speculate just what this film was trying to say for so long, but in my opinion, I don't really think it was ever really meant to be understood. This, along with many of Kubrick's films, don't exactly have a moral or a message they're trying to hammer into the audience. They simply give you ideas to play around with so you can make up your own idea of what they're supposed to be, which is why so many of his films have stood the test of time. A lot of people say that the first time you watch a movie, that's the best, that's usually the most exciting watch and nothing can recreate your first time watching it. But to me, there's something to be said about movies that you may not be sure about at first, but continue to grow on you as time goes on. To me, only the best films can accomplish that. I love 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I don't expect everyone else I know to love it. It's a very slow burn with a very loose plot and has a vibe that can overall be very off-putting to some people. I wholeheartedly believe that 2001: A Space Odyssey is not for everyone. But at the same time, I encourage everyone to watch it at least once, because whatever you may take away from it, in my humble opinion, I don't believe we will ever get another movie quite like it.